Hello everybody, welcome to the YouTube channel. Thank you ever so much for joining me for another project video, which you can probably see in the background here. This is our guest room. I'm starting with some footage of the finished room for a change, because for some bizarre reason I forgot to do any footage whatsoever of what the room originally looked like. The only thing I can do to kind of give you an idea is show you this picture and this picture, which were taken by the estate agents. These are pictures that were in the listing when we bought this property, and as you'll see, it's like a grey blue coloured wall and ceiling, bizarrely, and also this horrible cheap laminate flooring. Now, the main issue was that the wallpaper was painted. It had been painted several times, so there had been, from what I fathomed, at least three different colours on top of the wallpaper, which made it really difficult to remove. But, you know, as I always say on this channel, the only way to make anything better is to make it worse at the beginning. So I had to kind of just destroy the room. I had to rip all of the walls down. Um, it wasn't fun. The main challenge was that my plasterer said, "Oh, I can do it a month early if you can have it ready for Monday." And this was on a Friday night. So I said, "Oh, right, okay. That's my plans for the weekend, scuppered." So I spent 2 days stripping the room. It was one day to do all four of the walls and a whole day to do the ceiling. The ceiling, it was basically lacquered on. I couldn't get it off. It was so difficult. Did move eventually, but it wasn't fun. So as you'll see from some of this footage here, it was not very nice. But I did manage to get it done eventually. And then, of course, it was all ready. It was ready for the plasterers to come round and do it. Again, not an awful lot of footage of the plastering, but more so the mist coat that I did afterwards, just to give you an idea of how we made the walls nice and smooth. And then, of course, the fun could begin. Hopefully you can tell the sarcasm in my voice there, because there's nothing fun about painting. Nobody likes doing it. But yeah, I needed to do about, I think it's 4 coats I did, maybe 5 coats eventually. So this is after 2 mist coats. And then it was on to getting the paint on the walls. I chose this colour, which is called Brushed Cotton by Valspar. It's quite expensive Valspar paint, but again, you can colour match it. This is one of their new colours, and as you can see from the pot, it is a kind of like a magnolia colour, which is lovely. That was the colour I wanted. It said it would be like a very, very, very light brown when dried. But I don't know if you can see, as I'm painting this, that it starts to go a little bit green. Now, I'm not sure why, but it dried like a very light green colour. I don't know if you can make that out. I thought maybe it's because the mist coat is soaking up the paint. So I'm going to give it another coat. And when I did the second coat, it looked even worse. It looked even more green than before. Contacted Valspar. They really didn't want to know. They kind of just went, "Oh, we'll just buy some more paint and paint a square meter of each colour next to each other, and then send us a photo of that and we'll think about it." And I just couldn't be asked, so we stuck with this. So now the fun part, which is putting the skirting down. What I like to do is pre-prepare my skirting. Here's a piece I made earlier. And for this, we're using very tall skirting. I think it looks quite posh, quite modern to have it high as opposed to very, very thin and small. So this is about an inch thick. I don't even know if it is actually skirting, but this is what passes as skirting when you're going. I think it's about 17 centimeters high, something like 7 inches, I think the guy said, in fact. So I've had these cut. I've primed them. I've also put my eggshell, no, is it eggshell gloss on the top of it as well? So all I've got to do now is attach this. I've checked with my trusty level, and the floor is actually straight. That never happens, but all the way around, it's perfectly flat. I'm very happy about that, obviously. So all I need to do is put that flat on here, and I'm going to have to glue it because of the void at the back, and then I'm just going to caulk the top. So that's the next job for today. Then on Tuesday, we are getting the carpet fitted. Hallelujah. Okay, so As I'm doing the skirting, I've come across a bit of a challenge. We always call it a challenge and not a problem because you can overcome a challenge. Look at these here. There's two random pipes sticking out of the wall. If you look from the top, they're not going to allow me to put the skirting on, which obviously needs to slide across from there. So these have got to come off. The problem is, I have no idea if these are actually live. I don't know. I'm assuming they're not gas. They're probably going to be water, but I don't know if they're live or not. They look like they've been bunged with plaster, but all I keep thinking is they must be dead pipes because you couldn't put plaster in them and then just turn the water pressure back on. It would probably just fire it out. So I'm praying that this is going to be okay. Let's see what happens when we cut these off. I'm genuinely dreading this because the way I see it, if there is water behind here, this is just going to piss out everywhere. So I'm going to get a towel just in case, just to prepare. And I'm going to use my multi-tool and a blade I've never actually used, which is one of these. I'm assuming that will be okay to get it flush with the wall here. So fingers crossed, everybody. Took my time here to cut along the level with the wood that was there, and I did realise as soon as the blade went through the pipe that it wasn't going to start leaking anywhere. At least that was the case on the first one. Second one was dead as well. I did find, as you'll see in a sec, when I removed it, that it was full of like gunk. It was kind of like the stuff that you find in the bottom of your radiators when you empty them. So it was blocked up, and luckily they weren't live, so I was very happy about that. And I managed to get both of them cut off so that I could finish the skirting. And then I just joined the skirting together. As you'll see, I'd cut it at a 45 there to hide the join, sanded over it, and once it was painted, you couldn't even see the joint. So I was really chuffed, and the skirting ended up being my favourite part of this project. Everybody, quick progress update. So we now have walls painted. It looks the colour it should be on this video, which is like an oatmeal. It's actually called brushed cotton. In real life, we're concerned it looks a little bit green, but it looks better on video than it does on the actual, in real life. So I've just done my skirting all the way around. Very, very pleased. Straight, high, tall skirting. And I've just corked it. So as you can see, there's a bead of cork that I've just got to paint over once it's dry. But really cool corners there, which look really smart. And then we've just put some pipe things on to hide the pipes for the radiator. I had to make a join because I put the skirting on behind the radiator, didn't take it off the wall because it's too much hassle. So I've connected those together, filled it, and I'm just going to wait for that to go off so I can sand it. And once it's painted, you shouldn't see that that was two pieces of wood at the back. That one's done, but I'm not corking that one because the paneling, which is this stuff, is going to go above it and it will hide that gap. So far it looks lovely. And the good thing is the floors are all 100% straight as F. So as you can see there, lovely straight floors in here. So all of my skirting is absolutely bang on, even though I didn't have to do anything, no shimming or nothing. So just very, very, very good. So radiator is painted, window frame is also painted, just one coat so far, but we've got a nice white satin on there as well, which just matches everything lovely. So really chuffed so far. It's a bit of a mess. I'm going to hoover up and then go and get some more glue and cork, and then we're going to start on feature wall. Hello everybody, it is Saturday morning, so I'm going to do a new project for today, which is to batten feature wall this space here. So as you can probably see just at the top of the shot, I've done some painting above. I didn't bother going all the way down because this is going to be a contrasting colour to the top. So I'm going to use the MDF wall kit by B&Q, which retails at about £18. I know that you can buy a sheet of MDF and cut it down. A lot of people say that that works out cheaper. To be honest, I couldn't be bothered with all the hassle of setting up the saw to cut everything and make it all the same size. So there's 1.2 meters worth of wood in the box, and this space is about 2.3 meters long. So I had to buy 2 packs. So I'm going to start at the bottom and then do the uprights, then do the top. Then the idea is we're going to do some caulking and filling, sand it, prime it, paint it. Should be able to do the whole thing in 1 to 2 days based on how quick we can get the paint to dry. But I'm quite looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a really lovely little feature for this room. So let's see how we get on. Okay, so in terms of a product unboxing, these are the MDF pieces. Should be six in the box, and each one is cut exactly the same. So you use some as horizontal, some as vertical, and they should all be the same. Being MDF, it's made out of basically sawdust. So you've got to make sure you prime this, because this is like a sponge. It will suck up the paint when you paint it. So make sure you prime it and stop the paint soaking in. So first job is going to be to get this on the wall there at the bottom. I'm going to run that all the way along. It should be able to fill the shadow gap that we've got on the skirt, and you might see that in the background as well. So we'll get that on first, and then we can move on to the next stage, which is going to be the uprights. So I'm going to start by sticking no more nails on the back before I stick it to the wall. Then I'm going to use my new Von Half nailer. There's a separate product review to this elsewhere on my YouTube channel. I'm not good for giving business advice, by the way, but if you were to buy shares in Unibond, I guarantee you'll be very wealthy because of the amount of this no more nails that I purchase. I buy a lot of this. It works so well. So we're going to put this on the back, stick it on, tack it with the nailer to hold it in place, because the wall does bow just a little bit, and then we'll work our way along. And then from there, we can then do the verticals, which I'll do equally spaced, and then we can put the caps, the tops on. So that's the plan. Let's get the next piece butted up lovely, and then pushed on and in. Fantastico. Okay, nailer needed over here. Beautifully done. Again over here maybe. That's great. That's not going anywhere, is it? This little space at the end, which is slightly longer than the 2 panels that I've put on so far, I've got to cut a little bit of one, which is a shame. There's one less upright, but it doesn't matter. So the manager's been in, the manager being the wife. She's decided that we're having 5 back panels. So that's made up, of course, of 4 uprights in the middle. There is a spare, and I did say we could have more, but she's adamant, and happy wife, happy life, and all that malarkey. So we're going to go for that. So what I've got to do now is equally space these. I've got to work out the full distance, and then minus the ones on the side, and then basically divide the space by the number of panels that you want, and that will tell you where the uprights need to be. So I'm going to do that, and then once they're on the wall, then I can put the top bit on. Now, one quick point to show you, when I put these uprights, you'll see that at the top there is a little gap. That is deliberate, but not at the bottom, and that is because the architrave, of course, isn't straight. And I don't want to put that on wonky, because it will then make the uprights, the horizontals across the top look terrible. So I've had to make that straight with the spirit level, and then I'll have to fill that gap. Likewise, on this side, it's actually straight when touching at the top, but at the bottom, there's a little gap on this one. Not much, and it will fill nicely with some cork. So I'm not too concerned, but it's got to look right. And I'm a sucker for a spirit level. So I've got to make sure everything is nice and straight. So next job is to measure the spacing, put these uprights on, and then we can concentrate on doing the top. So I want to talk just a little bit about trim mouldings. There's a lot of videos and tutorials on how to do MDF walls like the one I'm doing, but no one ever seems to talk about the bit that fits on the top. So I just want to go into that a little bit. Obviously, this is a dado rail, as it's also known in the UK. This one was £12, which is really expensive for what it is. 2.4 meters. Annoyingly, I need 2.5 meters, so I had to buy two for the sake of 4 inches. Very, very irritating. However, this is the one that we're going for. Excuse the notch missing out of that one. There was only two left of the style that we're going for, but this is the one I'm going to cut down anyway. So this is the look of it, and as you can see, just from the end, the bottom bit is going to be about level with the MDF, and then you've got kind of a cap across the top, which I think will look really smart. So that's the style we're going to go for, and it will be primed and everything with the rest of the MDF shortly. So I'm going to put that on. I'm going to put a few brad nails in, and we should be sorted. So let's see how we get on with that. Here's footage of me putting on my dado rail on top of my panelling. Looks quite nice, doesn't it? It will look even better in a sec. You'll see it when it's painted and primed and that. But really chuffed with that. Got that all sorted. And the next job was to start sanding. PPE, a must for this bit. And I had to start by using my usually trusty orbital sander by Ryobi. I say usually because, as you'll see in a sec, for some reason it decided to have a bit of a wobble and started throwing the discs off, which has never happened before. I don't know why it started doing it, and I was trying my best to push it up against the wall, and they were just kept falling off. So I had to go back to the good old-fashioned block of wood with some sandpaper to get the job done. It did make a bit of a mess, so I decided to then go and get my trusty leaf blower out, which I used to clean it off. And it worked just loads better than trying to use a hoover or something. So that just helped to clear the space ready for priming. Once it was primed, as you've seen on the other bits, I then went and used this paint, again, Valspar from B&Q. This one is called Dairy Bell, which is really nice, actually. It's a very light coloured cream magnolia, but obviously a contrasting colour to the walls that we've got done already. The walls have had another coat. The skirting is now finished. Look at the quality of this. And we all just appreciate how nice and sharp and perfect this is. So that's done. I've sharpened all the lines. I've gone around the ceiling. I've gone around everything else. The window frame is painted. And now, here is first coat done. I can't do any more tonight. But first coat done on our feature wall, which is what the bed's going to go up against. So the colours, again, based on this bulb, on what they are. That is more like a magnolia, and that is actually like an oat colour, but it looks a bit green in the video. So yeah, I'm really, really proud of myself for what I've done today, and just got to finish up now, really. Get everything away, and then the carpet can be installed on Tuesday. A quick appreciation photo of the panelled wall once it was finished, ready as like a bed head, and I think it looks really nice. Some more pictures once I'd done another coat of everything else. I think I did 3 coats in the end, including on the radiator, so it all blended in. Here's what the carpet looked like. We went for one that matched the blind, which you'll see shortly, so really chuffed with that as well. We ended up with a double bed in this space just because we were limited on size. I would have liked bigger, but it would have eliminated access. So here it is with a sign above that we reused. So this is the bed that we got from a company called JYSK, JYSK. They haven't got many stores in the UK yet, and their selection's pretty good. Didn't have much luck in that it came slightly damaged. It also came missing a key piece, which was this thing, which is part P. That wasn't in the box. We had to wait an extra 2 weeks for that to turn up. But we did end up with £50 compensation. No, £75 compensation for all the hassle. So we ended up getting the bed for 200 instead of 275, which isn't too bad. So I'm going to have to get a mattress on here now. And then we're ready to make it look pretty, ready for our guests. So this bed frame doesn't come with a mattress. We had to procure that separately, but we did buy this from JYSK as well, just to make sure it fit exactly on top of this bed. This mattress was supposed to be £599, but they actually run weekly offers on different products in the portfolio. This one they reduced to just £200 for 1 week only, so I was lucky enough to snap it up at that time. Opened it up and let it air out for about, well, just overnight basically. The next morning, the wife made it look pretty with some pillows and new blanket.
Final touch is this stool that we're going to reuse, but as you can see the top is a little bit knackered and has been a bit stained. So we've unscrewed it and we've got an old curtain which we're going to use to reupholster it. So that's been cut to size. We'll basically fold it over from the top and then staple it from the bottom and screw it back on. It should look like a brand new stool. Last finishing touches is just these cob lights, which I got from Temu. I've used these in other projects before and they're very cheap. They don't give off much light, but they run off a 5-volt USB cable, which I just use an old Apple iPhone charger for those. And I'm just going to stick them to the back all the way around, and hopefully it'll give off a nice ambience. So that's the last job, I think. And finally, the last finishing touch was one of these wall-mounted coat hangers that I got from Amazon for about 20 quid. These are really useful. You just have to make sure that you mount them higher than people can walk into in the dark. And it's great for being able to put your coats and your shirts and things like that on, and dresses and stuff. And then when you're not using it, just fold it away. Really useful little gadget, that one. And here's my brand new stool, or at least it looks like one, at our IKEA dressing table. This is great because it saves a lot of space up against the wall there. So this is where we get ready in the mornings. I also went for a white bezel television. I just think it looks great, much better than just a big black box on the wall. This is a blind that I cut to size, and obviously a few trinkets on the wall there. And then finally, we ended up getting these lovely lamps on bedside tables. The lamps have USB ports on them, which is helpful.